From the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey guys, what's going on? Lee Sanders with you all. It is that time, one of my favorite joints out of the year. Each year around this same time of the year. Of course, I'm talking about WWE Royal Rumble, as officially the road to WrestleMania begins. We are here doing our Call That Match edition of the RCWR show, as we're going to be offering match predictions for this weekend's Royal Rumble event that's going to be coming to us from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Remember, that is going to be going down Saturday. What is that? November 29th, I believe it is. Let me look at the calendar here. Sometimes I get my days a little bit mixed up. That's actually going to be happening, and I'm glad I'm pulling up the calendar here. That's actually going to be happening on January 31st, Saturday, January 31st. 2026. If you're over here in the United States, that bad boy is going to be kicking off at 2 p.m. East Coast, 11 a.m. on the West Coast. Going down at the King Abdullah Financial District. Should be some fun surprises. Definitely some big returns. I don't think too many big returns, but definitely some returns. So, yeah, hope you guys are doing pretty good as we're going to be jumping into this. You like how I'm just deliberately procrastinating a little bit, right? No, we're seriously, all we're doing for this special edition is Royal Rumble predictions. That is it. We previewed it on Monday's RCWR show, which I did make that available for Spotify feeds right now. I have not made the audio version available wherever else you get your podcast yet. I probably won't be doing that until sometime tomorrow. But if you want to watch the webcast version of the show, that is available on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch as well, so you can have at it. But no, all we're doing on this edition, special edition of the RCWR show, is Royal Rumble predictions. Yo, let's go ahead. Let's jump into this. So I took the time out to really sit down and look at this card, and first and foremost, making sure that it's the most updated card that I have to date. I was hoping that by the time NXT on the CW went off tonight, just a few minutes ago, that we were going to be here on the show making a few announcements. Oh, hey, this person from NXT is apparently going to be involved in the Royal Rumble, but we did not get any of that whatsoever. So if you happened to watch Monday Night Raw, then you know the number of entrants for the Rumble for the men and women's side is still the same. If you skipped out on not watching Monday Night Raw, right? If you skipped out on the bad boy, well, sadly, you ain't missed nothing, right? That's just to say, you ain't missed nothing. All right, guys, let's go ahead. Let's get into this bad boy. First match I want to tackle right now. All right, 4 matches. Grand total. That's what we got going on right now. 4 matches. Let's look at so many interesting ways we could go with this. And I'm not even tripping over the actual order of the matches, the way it's going to be given to us. I'm not going to even predict that. I just want to tackle the matches as they're basically coming. But if I could have it my way, right, as far as like what I would do to open up the show. I think I would open things up with Drew McIntyre defending the undisputed WWE Championship against Sami Zayn. I think that's the way I would really get the crowd nice and worked up and everything. So we know Drew McIntyre has been just killing it as of late. I love it. I love what Drew has been doing. I'm glad that he is the WWE champion yet again. Long time coming, and I'm hoping that this guy is going to be holding on to the championship at least long enough until he gets to WrestleMania. Fingers crossed on that, but stranger things have happened, especially on the road to WrestleMania. Sami Zayn just winning the number one contenders fatal four-way joint there. Remember, that had involved Trick Williams. Who else was part of that? I'm just trying to think about those names again. It was Trick Williams, Randy Orton, Sammy was in there, and Damian Priest was in there as well. That was your fatal four-way. So Sami Zayn came out as the victor in all of that. And Sami Zayn, remember the last time he crossed paths with Drew McIntyre, Drew has been owning his ass like at every single juncture throughout their respective careers that they've crossed paths. Drew has had Sami Zayn's numbers. So will this Saturday at the Rumble be any different? Or is there going to be another heartbreak coming in here for Sami Zayn? My answer to that, without bullshitting you guys around, Sami Zayn ain't winning this WWE Undisputed Championship. And I am just simply following what's going on with the respected story arc. If you were fortunate enough to watch Saturday night's main event and you watched SmackDown the past couple of weeks, you know that Jacob Fatu and Cody Rhodes, they've been beefing really, really hard. And then particularly you look at what had happened over the weekend on Saturday night's main event when Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu were supposed to have a one-on-one match, and it never happened as two of those guys were in a downright brawl. And just how at the end there, the match, it never started because they just brawled all around the arena and everything. And then at that point, Drew McIntyre came out and he essentially was like, F you and F you. And remember, we know that Drew McIntyre, he pretty much let it be known to Jacob Fatu, although it's been falling on deaf ears. Yo, Jacob didn't attack you, homie. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, didn't do anything. Like, what the hell? But Jacob Fatu is not buying it. He's under the impression that Drew had something to do with taking him out all those months back, and he pretty much has been missing television time, in ring time as a result. So, it's kind of one of those what the hell kind of deals. And then Drew's also been kind of feuding there with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes blaming Jacob Fatu for screwing him out of his WWE championship, right? So you got that whole trifecta thing that's going on. That's the whole point that I'm making. You've got this whole trifecta. So keeping that whole trifecta in mind, I just have this weird feeling that Sami Zayn is going to come pretty close to getting the job done here. And I can see Jacob Fatu somehow getting involved in this. And also in the same mix of chaos, somehow Cody Rhodes is intertwined. But when it's all said and done, Drew McIntyre is going to take advantage of this whole situation and come out still the champion. Now, remember what I've been saying for you longtime listeners out there. You've been checking out the shows and you've really actually been taking the time out to listen to me rather than fire off and tell me, what you think is, you actually listen to what I've been saying for months upon months upon months, especially if you've been watching me for years. I bat a pretty good average in how things ultimately are laid out. right? Like 90% of the time and up, I'm pretty on point with what I'm looking at here. Remember the one constant thing that I have been telling you guys in regards to Sami Zayn, which is he will be, whether some of you guys like it or not, he will be a WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And I feel that everything that is being done right now with Sami Zayn, they are essentially taking the scenic route with this guy. But I said he will definitely become a world heavyweight champion. And I even went a step further and I said to you guys, 2026 will be the year that Sami Zayn becomes a world heavyweight champion. And I went a step further than that. And I said, look, if by the end of the year, if by the time we get to December 31st, 2026, Sami Zayn has still not become a world heavyweight champion, then we as fans need to sit down, right? Again, whether we like it or not, we're tired of Sami Zayn always being right there in the title picture and all of that. Like, whether we like it or not, obviously the powers that be behind the scenes in WWE, especially with Triple H, Paul Levesque at the helm, very, very high on Sami Zayn. So it's definitely a matter of time before the trigger is ultimately pulled. But note what I said months back, months upon months, almost a year ago. I said 2026, the way it's going, the way it's looking, they're taking the scenic route with this dude. And then as the months in 2025 progressed, I said, yeah, the vibe I'm getting, 2026 is going to be Sammy's year. If by the time we get to the end of 2026, Sammy's still not a world heavyweight champion, we need to look at, well, what's the current landscape? Who are the players right now? Because maybe that could explain why Sammy possibly a delay, or is everything just right? But Drew McIntyre walks out of the Royal Rumble still your undisputed WWE champion. And then, of course, for Drew McIntyre in the mix of all of this, uh, so let's recap this. So Drew walks out, still got unresolved issues with Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes. You could ultimately make yourself a triple threat match out of that. Sami Zayn could also get in there, have himself some nice bragging rights and go, nah, 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 man, because of these damn knuckleheads that y'all are seeing right here, screwed me out of my opportunity. I came this close. Now, if anybody should get a shot at Drew McIntyre, yo, I need to run this back. What's up? So I see two scenarios playing out with all those names that I just mentioned. Remember, we got one more pay-per-view, which is pretty much Elimination Chamber. So it's a strong possibility that Drew McIntyre could defend his WWE championship against those other names that I mentioned, or it could be a case where Cody Rhodes, Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, they're automatically placed in the Elimination Chamber. And I think the latter of what I'm saying is what ultimately is going to happen, because make no mistake about it, as far as the road to WrestleMania goes, we are definitely, like, when it comes to whoever wins that men's Royal Rumble, which we're going to talk about in a hot minute, that path is going to be cleared. I wouldn't be surprised as early as the week after the Rumble, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we go into that Monday's WWE Raw. Whoever is the winner, maybe for the Raw side, they're like, yeah, I'm calling dibs on, and that frees up the SmackDown guys or whatnot. You feel me? But I see that latter part happening where Sami Zayn, Fatu, Cody go into Elimination Chamber. I just can't quite picture right now if Drew's going to be defending at the Elimination Chamber. I don't think he will be. Let's come back to that, though, and let's talk about some of these other matches that we got on the card. So we got that one. Another match that's going to be happening at the 2026 Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. AJ Styles taking on Gunther, career-threatening match. Remember, if AJ Styles loses, he'll be forced to retire from in-ring competition. We talked about the implications of this match at great length on Monday's RCWR show with Lee Sanders for January 26, 2026. If you guys have not checked out that show yet, please, I would encourage you after you get done with this, picking on back, check it out. I went real in depth on this, and I went on record and I said to you guys, look, the way I'm picturing this AJ Styles Gunther match going down, I'm having a hard time picturing AJ Styles walking out of Royal Rumble the winner. I just am, right? And I don't like saying that. I don't. For those of you that had missed some of the things that I had to say in depth about this particular match, as I tipped my hand a bit, letting you guys know what I was thinking as far as this match goes and match outcome winners and everything. I basically said, first of all, it sucks that the way things are right now, as it's being reported by the good folks over at PW Insider and Fightful, and then shout out to Shinsuke Nakamura, who pretty much posted a little thing on social media, but then quickly took it down. AJ Styles told Shinsuke Nakamura, Royal Rumble, that is it for him. That was his final date. January 31st, 2026. That'd be his last match, at least in WWE. And if we are to believe the way things are standing right now, unless WWE and AJ Styles have come to some type of an agreement, some type of a verbal agreement of an extension, something along those lines, and maybe they can kind of take AJ Styles to WrestleMania, it would appear that Royal Rumble is going to be it for the phenomenal one. And I mean, look, not for nothing, but if you've made your rounds checking out different wrestlers being interviewed over the years, especially the ones that have had opportunities to go to Saudi Arabia, the paydays from Saudi Arabia, it is insane. So if AJ Styles' last hoorah is going to be in Saudi Arabia, performing there for the prince and his family, I mean, he's going out with a big bang, but I don't see this being the end of AJ Styles wrestling, at least as far as WWE goes. Yeah, he's done, but wrestling in general, no. And for those of you that are under the impression maybe this means AJ Styles is just gonna give Tony Khan a phone call, and the next thing you know, we're gonna see the phenomenal one in AEW, I don't see that happening at all. I would actually be quite shocked if that were to happen. Instead, what I think is ultimately going to happen, AJ Styles will finish out the rest of his respected career working for the TNA wrestling promotion, and at the same time doing some independent dates. So, maybe as far as, oh my God, AJ Styles, MLW. Yeah, sure. Oh my God, AJ Styles, New Japan. Yeah, sure. Oh my God, AJ Styles, maybe GCW. Yeah, I could even see that too. I definitely see 2026 being the year, though, that AJ Styles, really pays it forward and does like a little limited tour and all of that. I can see him essentially wrapping things up by summer, maybe right before Q4 in 2026, like right before the holidays start. Like if you were to say to me, maybe September, October, he'll probably push it and then wrap it up. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Look, the seeds have already been planted for AJ Styles and his involvement in TNA wrestling. If you've been watching, what's been happening with his involvement in the promotion the past couple of months, definitely the teasing there of ultimately a match with Frankie Kazarian and everything, they've already planted the seeds down, right? It's just a matter of how all of that is going to actually come into fruition. Now, I did also note that if that's not on the cards and AJ Styles is not going to be doing anything for the TNA promotion, then this is it for AJ after Gunther, then it's just one of those head scratching, well, why did we do all this other stuff? Why did we tease the fans? Why did we do this? Why did we do none of this essentially makes any sense. So, but I am definitely looking at Gunther ending this. I'm looking at Gunther ending this. I'm thinking, and I've thought, long and hard about this. I thought about whether or not maybe there could be some type of fuckery involved in this matchup that could somehow make AJ Styles continue on. And no, I think you got to just let this match play out the way it needs to play out. You've already got, by my estimation, especially if I were the one to lay this match out, I just told you how I would lay out Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. So and it makes sense. Some of you guys may not like those run-ins, but it makes sense when you're following the story arc. But for AJ Styles and Gunther, this is one match you just gotta really let it be straight up one-on-one. Definitely going to be an emotional moment there for AJ Styles. Gunther has been on such a freaking roll, though. You want to keep feeding this dude, right? You've already given him Bill Goldberg. You've given him John Cena. You want to, at one point I remember you even fed him Rey Mysterio, although he didn't retire Rey Mysterio, but he did put Rey Mysterio in his place. He definitely owned the crap out of R-Truth recently. So like you want to continue to build up Gunther, not to mention Gunther has already declared himself for the Royal Rumble. So I definitely, if I'm laying this out and I'm looking at Gunther and everything that has just transpired with this guy, all of 2025 going into 2026, I'm continuing to feed that freaking beast and be like, the narrative that I'm trying to spin is who in the hell can stop Gunther? Hell, can anyone stop Gunther, right? That's how I'm essentially building this up and everything. But I want that Saudi Arabia crowd so pissed at Gunther after he beats AJ. I want that riding into the men's Royal Rumble. As soon as they hear his music, whatever number he is, hear his music, they see him come out, and they are just fired up, right? Because he just took out another one of their beloved favorites, right? Gunther for the win here. By the way, I still feel personally there should have been another stipulation here at play for the record. If AJ Styles is willing to cough up his respected career, then the other thing that honestly should have went down, AJ Styles should have been like, okay, well, I want something from you as well. If and when I beat you, you cannot challenge for a World Heavyweight Championship for a whole calendar year. And that also means that any Money in the Bank match, opportunity at a briefcase, any King of the Ring tournament, any tournament that is going to grant you a shot for a World Heavyweight Championship, the Royal Rumble, like you are eliminated from all of those. That really would have sweetened the pot, I personally feel. Sound off. Let me know what you guys think about that. Or if you are content with just, career-threatening match, I'm good with that. All right, so on that note, I'm going to save the men's Royal Rumble for last. That men's, that 30-man Royal Rumble match? I'm going to save that for last. Let's go through the women. I had an easier time navigating through the women's Royal Rumble than the men's, because the men's, there's so many twists and turns in there that can go down. But the way I'm looking at it here for the women's, let's pull this up. So right now, as it stands at the time of this recording, again, at the time of this recording, and if there's any other updates that's going to go down, I'll be sure, at least for this piece on YouTube, I'll be sure to leave a comment as far as the updated card goes, right? But the way things are standing for Tuesday night, January 27th of 2026, we've got 17 out of the 30 entrants that's been announced for the women's Royal Rumble, all right? Here's the names: Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Asuka, Chelsea Green, Jordynne Grace, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Giulia, Maxxine Dupri, Becky Lynch. Now, one name that kind of surprised me here is the fact that they have Maxxine Dupri in here. I don't agree with that. I think personally, given everything that had happened with Natalya and Maxxine Dupri 2 weeks ago, Dupree should be off television. We just saw what happened with Natty resurfacing on Monday's Raw. She's getting ready to bring her MMA Bloodsport Natalia version to the ring, to the WWE world, and that's great. Can't wait to see how that operates. It's very promising though. If you've been fortunate enough to see her natty version running around on the independents, it's badass. So you really are in for a treat. That's if WWE fully is all invested in it. But my whole point, I don't know if I would have had Maxxine Dupri surface right here. It just kind of makes Maxine come off like a sheep, like like some type of a sacrificial lamb. Like you ever see for you old school wrestling fans, the Disco Inferno little gift that's running around where he's dancing as he's running down the stage ramp. And I think it's what's the wrestler that attacked him from behind with a steel chair and he starts dancing, mocking him and all that. Like, the gift I'm talking about. I see Maxine Dupri in that position, in the Disco Inferno position, and Natty is the one that's gonna come up from behind and just beat the living hell out of her. So, like Maxine Dupri, if I'm booking this, Maxine Dupri, she's not going to enter the she's not going to enter the Women's Royal Rumble. That's how I'm looking at it. She just can't. You cannot have her into the Royal Rumble knowing with what you got going on here, right? By the way, shout out to everybody that's been commenting so far in the chat. I can actually see all the comments that's coming in. We'll definitely fire off and put on display what you guys are saying later on in the show. But yeah, that would just give me such a serious head scratcher if Maxine Dupri is actually able to get into the ring and she's wrestling there in the women's rumble and it's a minute before Natty comes out. So you got to do something there. Now, obviously, with what I'm recommending, obviously Maxine Dupri is out of commission. So somebody is essentially going to have to go in her place and all that, right? I sat down and I looked at, just as you'll hear from what I did with the 30-man Royal Rumble, I looked at all the women across all the brands and said, okay, what do we got? What do we got going on here? What do we got going on here? So we got Tiffany Stratton. That is a foregone conclusion that she's going to be returning. I mean, now more than ever. And if you're following her on social media, you've definitely seen a lot of what's going on with her online. She looks to be in phenomenal shape. And man, I'm hoping that this go round, now that she's been off for a couple of months, I hope that she's picked up a trick or two, because she was just towards the end, looked like she was burning out. Homegirl looked like she could really use a break. So my fingers are crossed that this go round, not just well rested, but she's upped her game in more ways than one, not just in the ring, but on the mic as well, because she definitely was stagnant on the mic. Zelina Vega, I could definitely see her being involved in the Rumble. Piper Nevin, Alba Fire. Remember, we already said Chelsea Green is in there, so it makes all the sense in the world that you got Piper Nevin, Alba Fire somehow in the mix of all that. Candice LeRae, you definitely got to toss her a little bit of a bone. Although if I could have it my way, I would actually put in B-Fab in place of Candice LeRae. But It is what it is. Kiana James, that girl has really been up in her game in recent weeks. I love the tag match that she was recently involved in too on SmackDown. If I'm not mistaken, it was last weekend that Kiana James and Giulia, they were involved in a tag match, and Kiana, man, she really carried her weight in that match. It's so amazing because when you stop in and think about when Giulia had first came to the SmackDown roster and how essentially she was supposed to be used to really help elevate Giulia, but instead it was the opposite effect. And instead it was Kiana that actually went over in the whole process. So kind of funny how we are where we are now. AJ Lee, I definitely got her being involved, right? This is that nice, cool, good feel moment and everything. You think about last year essentially when AJ had pretty much made her return at the Rumble and all that. Wow, has it already been a year? That's insane. Wow. God damn. No, no, really? It couldn't possibly have been a year already since AJ Lee has returned to the WWE. I actually got to go back and read that. I know about the tag match that her and CM Punk did against Becky and Seth Rollins, but has it really been the Royal Rumble? Let me just look here. Let's see. Attack Becky Lynch. No, no, no. She returned on September 5th, 2025 episode of SmackDown. That's where she officially returned. Okay, so this will be her first Royal Rumble since being back by around that time. Okay, okay. Wow. That's because I was about to say, wait a minute here. Yeah, yeah. I'm still thinking it right though. AJ Lee returns. Now here's where things start to get a little bit interesting here. Because I was really thinking about this particular matchup. I think somehow AJ and Becky, they're gonna definitely square up. I can see Becky being eliminated by AJ, which just sets Becky off big time to cut a scathing promo the very next night on Monday Night Raw on AJ. You can have AJ come out, little battle of words and everything. Then maybe it ends in the way where AJ says to Becky, yo, well, look, whatever, we can throw it down right here and now. Let's go. Becky don't want to smoke. She rolls out. Maybe we see AJ a segment or two later. She's backstage, maybe chatting it up with somebody. Maybe she's on her way out the arena. Becky lays her ass out. That pretty much has AJ out for a couple of weeks. You have Becky out there running her mouth. And ultimately, we get an update on AJ as far as her status. AJ returns, plays the, oh, woe is me. Oh. I'll see you at WrestleMania. Yeah. Put in the blank, right? I can see that playing out essentially. Rounding off the rest of the list for the women's, Ivy Now. Love the work, the great continued work that Ivy Now has continued putting in, week out, week out. Love the great transformation that she's been doing to her body as well. More lean, more cut. Sister does not get enough opportunities as far as I'm concerned. So I'm definitely looking to her to have a little bit of a nice little shine in this women's rumble. I got Zoe Stark returning. Shout out to my girl Zoe Stark. I've been seeing her on social media and she is, that girl is ripped. She looks to be in better shape than like when she first came into the WWE, definitely right before she went out on injury. And I know she was a victim of that whole AI stuff that had happened last year and everything. So it's nice that all of that had worked itself out ultimately, because I know when that news had first came out, a lot of us, including myself, was like, damn, what the hell is this? Like, you just, huh? Like, this can't be real. And then it turns out it wasn't real. I think she's going to have a nice little, I don't know about a pop from the crowd. I don't see that quite happening, but I think she's going to have a nice little performance here. I also want to give a nod to my girl JC Jane, the current NXT Women's Champion. As far as representing the NXT brand goes, I can definitely see JC Jane from Fatal Influence doing a little bit of a run in. I'm not quite sure if you have the rest of the girls from Fatal Influence participate somehow as well. When I say participate, I don't mean they're actual Rumble participants. I'm not seeing that. I think you just JC Jane, she's the one. But outside interference from her homegirls in Fatal Influence, yes, without a doubt. You also gotta toss a bone to Sol Ruka. She is definitely the future of Triple H Paul Levesque's women's division. I mean, this girl is money. Great look, great in ring set. I mean, killer finisher. I'm still waiting for that awesome moment where somehow we get her crossing paths with Randy Orton and just the Soul Crushers and RKO's out of nowhere. Like, seriously. But Sol Ruka, definitely looking for her to have an appearance in this Rumble as well. And then one more person I want to give props to. Now, she was involved in last year's Women's Royal Rumble, but I would like to see them run this girl back again, and that's Jada Parker. Jada Parker. Down the road, whenever Jada Parker moves up to the main roster, I can definitely see her doing something for some reason with Jade Cargill. It just seems like Jada and Jade, J and J, just seems like that would be a very interesting dynamic of a tag team right there. But again, keep Natty, Maxxine Dupree off the Rumble. Hopefully that's what happens, right? Maxxine does not get in the ring, but instead Natty jumps her from behind. Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Jada Parker, Jordynne Grace. I can see all these powerhouse heavyweights having some type of a stare down with one another. I think that would be really, really epic. And then the other thing that you need to accomplish here in this Women's Royal Rumble. See, it's very easy for people to just come on here and just be like, oh, I got this person winning, right? Or this is the match I think that's going to happen at WrestleMania. It's like, I mean, that's good guessing, but like you really got to sit down and challenge yourself with what you've been seeing with your own two eyes and following the story arcs. You really got to say to yourself, okay, well, the way things are kind of playing out right here, there's a big difference between, oh, well, if I was just a booker, this is what I would do. To, okay, looking at the trajectory of where we're at right now with some of these story arcs and some of these wrestlers, the natural progression, it kind of seems like we're going to be going is here, right? So you have to kind of challenge yourself on the ladder to think that way. One thing that I think really needs to be accomplished here in this Women's Royal Rumble, Jordynne Grace, I'm looking at particularly. You want to make sure that you have her give a strong, dominating performance. You really got to build her up good, especially considering you're trying to, at least with what you've been doing these past several weeks now, you've been putting her in a position where she's ultimately the one that's trying to challenge Jade Cargill for that women's championship and dethrone her. So what better way to make sure that, okay, well, if we really want to try to build Jordynne Grace up, hey, it comes to this Women's Royal Rumble, she definitely needs a strong performance right here. And you got to do it in such a way where not only do you build her up so good, but she comes that close to potentially winning the whole thing, right? Now, a question can come into play. Does Jade Cargill somehow get into the mix and kind of push the screws? See, like, you got to be careful here, right? Because you don't want to put too many screws to some of your matches. Because if you're looking at your matches so far, you're definitely going Drew McIntyre, Sami Zayn. There's going to be some type of shenanigans involved in that matchup. No doubt about that, right? But do you really want to have there be shenanigans going on in your women's Royal Rumble match as well? You've already got Natty and Maxxine Dupree, which it like logistically, storyline wise, it makes a lot of sense. You do anything more in that women's match, it's going to be overkill, right? So I don't think it's necessary to have Jade put the screws to Jordynne Grace. I think if anything, Jordynne has this great performance. And as far as like how I can see it playing out, like who are our final four or final five, if you want to put Jordynne Grace in there, you can do so. You definitely got to have Tiffany Stratton in there, Io, Rhea, Liv Morgan. I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. Now, we've seen some of what's been two-faced Liv Morgan since she's been back. You know, she's talking a real good game, kumbaya and all that. You know, oh, Judgment Day, we're family. Oh, we're gonna, but she wants women's championship gold. She's let that be no freaking secret, right? And we know Raquel Rodriguez is involved in this match. And before anybody even goes in that direction, Raquel, Stephanie Vicaire, does the Stephanie even like maybe resume her little thing with Raquel here in the Rumble? Like, I don't think so. I really, again, you're really, really pushing it against the grain there in the interference. That's going to be a lot of overkill. And I promise you, if you stack it like that, if you're WWE and you're like, let's do this, let's stack it, you don't want to do that. You're going to alienate the hell out of your fan base. So this is definitely a case right here where instead what you want to do is have Liv somehow eliminate Raquel Rodriguez. And at least that way, going into Monday's Raw, you can have Raquel kind of be like, what the hell? I thought we were girls. I thought you was down with me going after the women's championship. And Liv could just kind of play it off. Oh, you know, I know, but I just got so excited and everything. And hey, I know you would have done the same thing to me, right? But the most important thing is Judgment Day would have represented at the end of the day. Come on, no hard feelings, buddy. Come on, you my girl. I can see Liv Morgan wiggling her way out of that because she don't want that devastating beatdown. And instead, I can kind of see her going, "Hey, let's focus more on this upcoming match, Philly Street fight, as a matter of fact, that Raquel Rodriguez is going to have against Stephanie Vicaire for the women's championship. So kind of keep that in mind as well. The fact that I've got Io and Rhea in there, that makes all the sense in the world because Rhea still, for whatever respected reason, hasn't quite been able to ultimately have Io Sky's number and all that, right? So I could see a nice little situation here where Io and Rhea, they got the ring to themselves, and it's pretty much like, okay, let's see the best woman win right here and everything. I got Jordynne Grace somehow ultimately being eliminated when it's all said and done. But my final two, when it's all said and done, I think it's going to come down to Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky, with Io Sky doing the honors. Tiffany Stratton picks up the win. Tiffany Stratton will be your winner. I don't like saying that. Like honestly, if I could have it my way, I would actually go with I would actually go with I'm not quite fully committed there on Jordynne Grace. I'm not quite all in on Jordynne Grace just yet. It just feels like there still needs to be more build up for her. It's not that she's not ready. I mean, she's more than ready, but I just feel like WWE Creative hasn't done enough to get her over that last little bit of a hump to really connect well with the fans and all that, right? Not that there isn't a fan base there, but they haven't done enough to really amplify Homegirl. Yeah, I think Tiffany is definitely the way they're likely going to be going in this one. Sound off. Let me know if you agree with that one or not. And then as far as Tiffany Stratton goes, this is kind of another one of those things where, you know, obviously it makes all the sense in the world that Tiffany is like, yo, I'm going after Jay Cargill, depending on right what happens at the Elimination Chamber. Like, if Jade's not defending at the Chamber, then obviously, as far as WrestleMania goes, Tiffany's going to be going after Jade, right? Or you can just have Tiffany win, stretch it out for a couple of weeks, go visit the Raw Women's Champion, then SmackDown, and then kind of go back and forth that way and then go accordingly. But yeah, Tiffany, EO, I think it's going to come down to those two girls. So that's that. All right, we got one more match to talk about, which is none other than the men's 30-man Royal Rumble. I know this is the one where a lot of you all have probably been salivating at the bit, ready to dive in on this one. So here's what we got going on so far. And again, as it stands for January 27th, 2026, we've got 15 out of 30 entrants that's been announced. Okay? Any updates between now and Saturday, just go check out our youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the post section. I'll post little updates there. I'll also post updates in the comment section for this particular video piece you're checking out right now. Names announced so far: Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, Oba Femi. So that's where we're at right now for those names. Now, here's the rest of the list that I'm seeing as far as names that could potentially be announced. There's a couple of ones in here that will maybe have you raise an eyebrow a little bit. I'll explain the reason why. Brock Lesnar, I think that's like a foregone conclusion, right? I mean, he should definitely be a lock. I'd be shocked if he actually wasn't part of Royal Rumble weekend. R-Truth, Joe Hendry, Sean Waltman, a.k.a. the 1-2-3 Kid. Now, this one may need a little bit of explaining. If you've been on top of your wrestling news and or you've been following Sean Waltman the past couple of years on social media, you know he's in the best shape of his life right now. Right down to the point, he came very close to actually making a WWE in-ring return within recent years, but it just never materialized. There was even talk of him maybe doing something at a Rumble, even as early as last year, if not the year before. And he definitely looked like he could hang with this current generation of wrestlers. I think given what's going on with WWE and 2K Sports currently promoting the upcoming WWE 2K6 video game, or correction, WWE 2K26 edition. That's going to be available for pre-order beginning January 30th, but the game's not going to be coming out until sometime in March. It makes all the sense in the world that with one of the editions, hey, the Attitude Era, and then you got the other one where it's the Monday Night War cover, basically, of WCW versus WWE. Kind of makes a little bit of sense to maybe, okay, who's some guys that maybe we can kind of get from that particular era that can still go, and we can have them do a little something for a couple of minutes in the men's Royal Rumble. So Sean Waltman, aka the 1-2-3 Kid, I definitely got him in there. If Sean Waltman is not available, then I think what makes a perfect piece to slide right in there is Matt Cardona. Man, that's just a foregone conclusion right there. Trick Williams, another Attitude Era guy, right? I'm not talking about Trick Williams, by the way, but the next name I'm getting ready to mention, RVD. That's another Attitude Era guy. He can definitely still go, right? You can put him in there. Grande Americano, Bravo, Rayo, Axiom, Ray Phoenix. Do you guys kind of see where I might be going here with this one? If not, we'll circle back to it and talk about it a little bit more. Rounding off the list, I've got Ethan Page, Ricky Saints, and then, of course, the Ayatollah of Rock and Arola, Chris Jericho. If Chris Jericho does not pop up at the Royal Rumble, you just can't help but wonder at this point, well, one, is Chris Jericho officially a lock in WWE? And if anything, could maybe a Chris Jericho return, is it more likely to happen the night after WrestleMania? Right? You go to that Raw after Mania. Could maybe they be trying to do something with Jericho on that night? So it's going to make the Royal Rumble that much more interesting to watch from the men's side of things, right? Because if you really stop and think about this, I mean, really, really do stop and think about this. Okay, great. You have Chris Jericho return. Great ovation from the crowd and everything, but you have him come back, and ultimately, when it's said and done, he doesn't win the Rumble. But he's back in the WWE. And it's kind of one of those, well, do you really want to do this with Jericho? Great payday for him out there in Saudi Arabia and all that, but do you really want to have Jericho return only, right? Me personally, I say you go for it because you want to get back to how these Royal Rumbles made you feel as a wrestling fan in previous years, where you were always treated to something really special, memorable, definitely had you talking about it all these years later. And these past handful of Royal Rumbles from recent years, really hasn't given us that many surprises. Definitely the last two Rumbles particularly. So I think you should definitely, if you got Jericho, you got access to him, if you're WWE, I think you should definitely pull the trigger and everything. Now, have you guys figured out why I got all those other people, the Ray Phoenixes, the Axioms, the Bravos, the Rayos, the Grande Americanos, the Pentas, the who else is in there? The Dragon Lees. Have you figured any of that out yet? Axiom, even. Have you figured that out yet? Again, this ties into going for a really cool kick-ass moment, which is, how badass would it be to see all of those maxed individuals, Rey Mysterio as well, and then what if we could somehow get Kane for one night only in the mix as well? You don't really need Kane. You pretty much have made your point. But again, it goes back to the fact of this Attitude Era edition of 2K26 that's forthcoming in the Monday Night War. Why not have Kane dress up for one night just to kind of help out and everything? But how cool of a moment would that be as fans if we saw all of these maxed individuals at some point all in the ring, and they all ultimately do that trademark Spider-Man pointing at one another? That would definitely be a really fun wrestling moment that fans will talk about for definitely years to come. It's definitely a viral moment that would catch fire on social media, right? So the right type of talk that you want to have, just the clicks and engagements and impressions that you'd be able to get from all of that, you're definitely hitting something really kick-ass right here. So I would encourage WWE. We know that some folks in WWE have made their rounds checking out this show and friends of the show over the years. And, eerily, the next thing you know, holy shit, they actually went in this direction. And I just watched this guy word for word lay this out, or I watched this girl lay this out, and wow, WWE, like to the T, they did that. So that'd be a really cool moment right there. Of course, we've got the Vision. Remember, we're going to have all the members of the Vision running around in this match. We got to figure out some type of a way where eventually they're going to be contested, right? There's definitely going to be a strengthened number there for the Vision. They're going to be running roughshod and all that for a bit. And I think the way things end up being balanced out is ultimately when you get Roman Reigns Jay Uso that's going to be able to join forces. Maybe you could have Rey Mysterio thrown into the mix as well, as he's had some past dealings with the Vision. You can even throw in there Javon Evans, and I would highly encourage WWE booking to involve Javon Evans. Give him that nice little rub off from some of the upper tier stars and everything. I think when you're getting down to the home stretch of things for this men's Royal Rumble, I can see the Vision turning on Braun Breaker. Now, some people may question, well, damn, we already seen them essentially turn on Seth Rollins. Man, like this soon, we're gonna have them turn on Braun Breaker. Like, do we really want to kind of go in this direction? And the fans love them some Braun Breaker. And let's not forget that there is still some unresolved issues there from Braun Breaker. When he essentially took out Seth Rollins and everything, right? So there's definitely some unresolved issues right there and everything. Seth ultimately needs to come back, get his revenge, and all of that. But if the Vision were to turn on Braun Breaker, because it puts WWE Creative in an interesting position, which is, okay, say you have the Vision turn on Braun Breaker. What's the excuse? What's the excuse as far as turning on him? Do they maybe say, well, look, this guy has had his chance a couple of times already and he's come up short? But then the most important question you have to ask is this act of betrayal. Like, how is it orchestrated? Who's it orchestrated by? You could say it's ultimately orchestrated by Logan Paul and Bronson Reed. Austin Theory's just riding shotgun. He doesn't really have a say. Or another direction that you could kind of go is Logan Paul or Austin Theory. They are the ones that essentially turn on Braun Breaker and screw him in the Rumble, having Breaker be freaking livid going into that Monday's Raw, right? So, I mean, I could definitely see, like, if you really wanted to build up, because it kind of feels like whatever you were trying to build up with Austin Theory in the weeks prior, it has cooled off big time. So if you were interested in maybe somehow kind of building that back up again, you could go with Austin Theory, but then the question becomes, what's the payoff from this? Like short term, especially on the road to WrestleMania. What's the ultimate payoff here that you're gonna, right? What's the long play to this? And there's really not much, unfortunately. But you can go there if you want. You probably would just have to do some stuff on the fly in regards to Theory and his storytelling. But then if you were to go maybe in a direction of Logan Paul being the one to put the screws to Braun Breaker, okay, that kind of makes a little bit more sense, right? You definitely got a little bit more long play with that, right? It's going to be interesting to see what happens with that, how that all plays out. My final four or five: Gunther for sure. Braun Breaker, only I've got him being screwed either by Logan Paul or Austin Theory. I'm hoping it is more so Logan Paul. Roman Reigns, Femi. And without a shadow of doubt, you got to make sure that Femi has a really strong, dominating performance. You just got to. You got to, right? He needs to come pretty damn close. It needs to look like this dude just in his PLE debut on the main roster, like, wow, this dude could actually, but just a little bit short, just a little bit short. I definitely would love to see him have a one-on-one moment there with Brock Lesnar. Definitely with Brock Lesnar. For sure, Roman Reigns as well. Love to see all of these guys just mix it up. Hell, you could even do a really cool spot where, as far as all your big guys go, your big powerhouse guys goes, if you want to have Braun Breaker in the mix, do it. If you want to have Brock Lesnar in there, and yeah, you definitely got to do some type of a one-on-one stare down between Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar. But like, you got to have Bron, you got to have Oba, you got to have Brock, you got to have Roman. All of that right there. I mean, it just sells itself right there. Just have those guys doing some type of an awesome stare down. I think your final two, when it's all said and done, it's going to come down to, I feel is going to come down to Roman Reigns and Gunther. Roman Reigns and Gunther. Now, as far as who I've got coming out of this as the winner, look, man, this is the guy that should be retiring, AJ Styles. Question that was asked is, who can stop Gunther? First of all, can Gunther be stopped? And then if he can't be stopped, who is going to stop him? I just feel you got to end the damn night with Gunther, despite all of that crap. Like, you got to have him go 2 for 2 at the Royal Rumble. You got to have this guy riding freaking high. Like, you see the pattern with WWE and how they've essentially been operating with this dude, which is when this guy loses, it really means something. There is like some significant weight to it, right? And I don't see no lame ass everybody gangs up on Gunther, although that would be nice. I mean, how badass would that be if you somehow ended up seeing R-Truth, and maybe AJ Styles comes out for a little bit of revenge slash a last laugh or whatever, but AJ Styles, R-Truth, Rey Mysterio, who else? You could definitely maybe get Javon Evans in there, maybe. But that'd be kind of funny if you had all those good guys, maybe even Jey Uso, all of them just in Penta, just beating the crap out of Gunther and kicking his ass out, making sure he doesn't win the Royal Rumble. Now, if you were to tell that kind of story, as far as, okay, this is why Gunther didn't win the Rumble, because all these people ganged up on him. Basically, they were giving him a big ass slice of humble pie. Okay, that's great. That's great. But then by doing that and eliminating Gunther, you set up the narrative of, okay, well, so Gunther's out. So then who's the next logical person that could potentially win the men's Royal Rumble? You know, then when you're kind of looking at it again, thinking about the final two, I mean, for sure, you would have to put Roman in there, right? You have to put Roman in there. Looking at the rest, I'm just trying to think like who would be a good honorable. Mm. Do you maybe have Jericho in Gunther's place? Do you maybe do that? I mean, that would be kind of right. At least you can really, hey, Jericho is back. Oh my God, this guy's better than ever. And we know he's been working out religiously. He's like in the best shape of his life right now as well. So I could maybe buy that. I could maybe buy that. By the way, I want to give an honorable mention, assuming Kane is not, and I'm hoping he's not involved, but assuming that Kane isn't going to be in there for that spot I was talking about earlier, you could either replace him with Booker T, because that guy could still go, or you could slide in there Aleister Black. I miss Omaz. I'm hoping that sooner or later we see him in WWE. Ultimately, you could even give that slot to Nakamura, especially after the great performance he had at Saturday night's main event against AJ Styles. Having Shinsuke Nakamura in there, that'd be pretty badass as well. But that is how I am looking at things for the men's Royal Rumble. Once again, looking at the winners for this bad boy, way I'm kind of projecting this right now. For AJ Styles versus Gunther, career-threatening match. I've got AJ Styles losing. So Drew McIntyre retains the undisputed WWE Championship over Sami Zayn. For the women's Royal Rumble match, I am looking at Tiffany Stratton as your winner. For those of you that's wondering, well, what about a Bianca Belair? What about Bianca Belair returning? What about her? I don't think so, guys. I would like it. That'd be a nice surprise. Really, legit. It would be a nice welcome surprise, but I'm not seeing it. And I don't even, is she even in the WrestleMania video packages, by the way? Like I don't believe. It's weird because I've seen the men's WrestleMania Las Vegas package so many times. I know who all is there, but the women's version, like I don't really look at it. Like when it comes on, I'm always looking at something else. So if she's in there, and okay, yeah, maybe, that'd be great. But if she's not in there, just the way things have kind of currently been going, watching all these months of storytelling on SmackDown, it seems like not quite yet. Maybe she'll pop up days after WrestleMania. But Tiffany Stratton, I'm seeing winning the 30-woman Royal Rumble match for a World Championship match at WrestleMania 42. And then for the men's Royal Rumble, I am going with Gunther, but take note of what I said. If there's some type of a gang up on Gunther and you pretty much have him, be eliminated, then Roman Reigns is your guy that I can see winning the Royal Rumble, which may upset a decent amount of you guys hearing that. like seriously, man. All right, let's go through some of the comments that we got going on in here. Let's see here. I want to take this up to the top here. Shout out to Leo. Liv Morgan is my pick to win the Rumble this year. No disrespect to Bianca. I just rather see WWE do something different. Rather her come back and win, especially after Charlotte won last year. The way this feels right now, this doesn't feel like, I hear what you're saying, Leo, but the way this kind of feels right now, it doesn't feel like this is Liv Morgan's time. As far as the Rumble goes, it doesn't feel like, no. It just sometimes, like, you got to go with your gut, right? You got to go with your gut, and you got to go with what your eyes are telling you versus, well, my personal pick, right? Again, and I challenge everybody to kind of start thinking this way. Look at the current story arcs that you've been seeing with a lot of these men and women, and kind of just go from there. Okay, kind of seems like, and then if there was to be some type of a surprise, some type of a curveball, like what could that ace in the hole be? That, okay, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE maybe went in this direction, right? Because sometimes, especially under this Triple H, Paul Levesque reign, the way that he has been laying stuff out for the most part, he doesn't insult the fans' intellect when you really stop and think about it. Like, if you're thinking it's going to go boom, 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 A, B, C, E, then D, like, that is literally how he's doing it. So we haven't really seen him truly shake things up in a really big way, right? So you kind of got to look at it from that standpoint versus, I don't want to say fantasy booking, right? Not, we don't need to be doing the stuff that we like doing when we fire up 2K, right? But just really taking your time out to see like what all is happening thus far with some of your favorite superstars. I would love Liv Morgan like any other time. If we're talking about like the king and queen of the ring, sure, I'm definitely down for that. Or if we're talking about future Mrs. Money in the Bank, like, sure, I'm down with that. Or she wins a future number one contenders match, I'm down with that. But if we're talking about Royal Rumble 2026, I'm not seeing it, unfortunately. Let's see here. Byron posted a couple of things here in the chat. Let me just tone it down to maybe two. He thinks that the way for WrestleMania 43 to have Sami Zayn win the championship in 2027. So he thinks WWE is going to wait until not this WrestleMania, but the following WrestleMania to crown Sami Zayn as the champion. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm still pretty confident in 2026 that Sami Zayn is definitely going to get his run. And again, to Byron in the chat, I wish that after, because he put a very specific number out. He said, after Royal Rumble, I think we will know 7 matches for WrestleMania 42. Well, you really don't need hey, after Royal Rumble, we'll know at least 7 matches. If you really take a step back, Byron and everybody else, and you look at what I just laid out for you, we know Tiffany Stratton, like 9 times out of 10, and assuming that Jade Cargill holds on to the championship until like through Elimination Chamber, we know Tiffany is basically, I want to run that back. So that's definitely one match. We know Gunther is definitely going to be gunning for a World Heavyweight Championship. I don't see him going after Drew McIntyre. I see him instead going after CM Punk. That's going to be a damn good matchup, okay? So that's our second matchup right there. Our third matchup, that concerns Drew McIntyre and whoever comes out of Elimination Chamber, like however that's going to play out. Do you maybe have it be Cody Rhodes going after Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship? Or does somehow Sami Zayn come from out of that and he goes into this year's WrestleMania against Drew McIntyre and finally does the unthinkable? I know I said 2026 will be the year of Sami Zayn, and I have to think about it a little bit more, but I am almost like, I can see Sami being the world champion. I can almost see it, right? But then it's kind of like, what exactly do you do there with Cody Rhodes, though, right? And then your fourth match, let's go with Roman Reigns. Your fourth match involving Roman Reigns, assuming that Gunther is the one that wins the Royal Rumble, unless something weird happens and kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, then with Roman Reigns, you go, okay, Roman Reigns, he entered the Royal Rumble, but he came up short. So what is next for Roman Reigns? Like, what's going to happen with him? We know, like, regardless, there's going to be a match there with Roman Reigns. Do you somehow circle back and do something with Cody, or like, what do you do exactly, right? Right now, Cody still kind of has his hands full with Jacob Fatu, right? That much we do know. Okay, and then let's not also forget we have Stephanie Vakir with her women's championship. I think ultimately Liv Morgan, it's going to be between Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, but ultimately I think Liv Morgan is going to be the one that's going to be challenging Stephanie Vakir for the championship at WrestleMania, and she's going to come away with the W. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. I mean, so there's 5 matches right there. I don't know if you do something, excuse me, I don't know if you do something with your men's tag team champions. I mean, I think personally you should. I definitely feel you personally should. Usos as well. I mean, Usos, WrestleMania, it's got a nice little ring to it and all that. And I've been a firm believer in you let the Usos hold on to the tag titles just long enough until another team takes it off their hands. And I've been saying for months that the way you need to do this carefully with Jey Uso, take the long scenic route, ultimately have Jey Uso turn on his brother Jimmy and sideline Jimmy for a little bit right when Naomi is about to give birth so he can enjoy those couple of weeks being a dad and everything for the first time. And then, you bring him back in time. I think she's just now really starting to show, but I don't think she's going to be popping before WrestleMania. So, this is more likely a case where Usos hold on to those tag belts just long enough, get through WrestleMania. Maybe they drop them the night after Mania to a tag team. Jay does his thing to Jimmy. Jimmy's out for a couple of months. Pick it up just in time for SummerSlam. Brothers going at it. You could do some type of a scenario like that. And then we've got Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. And just looking at the current trajectory of the women's tag division, my money is still on Nia Jax and Lash Legend. I think if you're gonna put the tag belts on some girls, Lash Legend would greatly benefit. I mean, she's getting a nice rub off from Nia Jax. I think they make a very good, formidable tag team, like a legit, a big threat of a tag team. I really love them. They got some pretty solid chemistry. I'm looking at the rest of the roster and everything. Uh, Only other honorable mention that I could maybe, if you maybe wanted to go back to Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, sure, but I'm leaning more towards Nia and Lash. Let's continue to build up on those. So again, it's kind of one of those, if you really take a step back and you really think about it, as far as like, if you were to say, hey, we're going to know 7 matches or we're going to know 8 matches from, no, if you really sit down and you think about it right now, you think about the current trajectory of all your favorite wrestlers that you're seeing in WWE, you're just thinking ahead through Elimination Chamber, through WrestleMania, getting to WrestleMania. Like, it'll be interesting to see how much of what we just laid out right here and now holds up going into Elimination Chamber and then to WrestleMania. Let's see here. And yes, we are caught up. I love that. All right, so quick programming notes. Now that we got this in the books, we've got the Royal Rumble post show. That's going to be live this Saturday, January 31st. I'm looking forward to that. Best part, I'm not going to have that much homework on my hands because, like, I don't know how it is for you guys in your respected neck of the woods, but I know for over here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia region, for a third day in a row, we have been crippled by the snowstorm that we experienced over the weekend. And unfortunately, I know I had a new semester of classes that was supposed to begin Monday. And for the third day in a row today, or well, officially tomorrow, because I just now realized today is still Tuesday, but they already made the announcement earlier today that no classes are going down for Wednesday. And it's like, wow. So it's been a little bit crazy, like, and I love getting out there on the road and working, doing some of my gig deliveries, but like I've been sidelined with the snow these past several days and, bad inclement weather that it's kind of sidelined me for a little bit. So I am getting a little bit antsy. One to a couple of professors from some of my classes, they already made some announcements on Elms that they were giving us asynchronous assignments. Basically, it's like, hey, here's your instructions. Get this done by the next class, and then we'll talk about it and go over the syllabus more. And it's like, okay, well, at least I'm now finally getting a little something to do. But my whole point, I'm not going to really have that much homework on my hands going into this weekend. So frees me up really good, right? It's a win for me. It's definitely a win for you guys as well. I will be watching the Royal Rumble kickoff show. I would imagine they're probably going to get a start, maybe a 2-hour start, give or take. Hopefully it's an hour start, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be a 2-hour pre-show. I'll definitely be checking that out, commenting on social media, but the main post-show is going to come live after we see Royal Rumble wrap up and everything. So look forward to that. We'll be streaming that all throughout your favorite social platforms. And before we dip, I want you to be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand on the downloads, wherever you get your podcast. Just search the RCWR show. Shout out to friends and supporters of the show. You're much appreciated as always. And speaking of sponsors, thinking about sponsors, definitely want to give a shout out to my girl over at KatrinaSPiritualCounseling.com. Whether you need relationship advice, financial advice, career advice, Katrina has 20 plus years experience in guiding folks through many difficult decisions. She's really good at her game. She's been doing it for over 20 years. She doesn't sugarcoat, no BSing. It's just straight up, straightforward information that she gives you, right? So you got a lot to gain by hitting her up. I definitely recommend you give her a buzz. You can check her out at her website, which is KatrinaSpiritualCounseling.com, or you can give her a buzz at 877-275-7562. Once again, that number, 877-275-7562. Get at me all throughout social media platforms. Use keywords, the RCWR show. If you enjoyed this, make sure you show some love. Hit the like, the retweet. If you're checking this out on YouTube, definitely hit the thumbs up. Feel free to also let me know your Royal Rumble predictions as well. Love to hear from you guys. And until Royal Rumble weekend, my pretty babies, wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you next go round. Take care.